Welcome back, it's Luke. Today we're going to cover an introduction to bash and command line basics. Whether you're a developer or in operations, you need to know about Linux commands because it will make your life so much easier. On this side we have the follow along guide. Here we've got me, and in here we're going to open up the terminal because we're going to use that online. We'll explain more about what that is and how it works shortly. This guide, you can get it will be the first link in the description. You can follow along by downloading it. I have gone through a bunch of Linux terminals online to find the best one for us to use, because if you're on Mac, not all of these commands will work. If you're on Windows, none of them will work unless you download Windows Subsystem for Linux, which is a faff. Anyway, I'm getting way ahead of myself. So this tutorial is designed to introduce you to the basics of bash shell, the essential commands, and how to interact with the Linux operating system effectively. And so we're going to split this into two videos. We're going to do up to essential commands in this video, and then the next video will cover more advanced stuff. So let's get into it. Understanding the shell. So what is a shell? A shell is a program that interprets and executes the commands that you type into a terminal. So here we can see there's a desktop, right? On this desktop here. So the link for this will be in the description as well, so you can follow along. You just create an account, you can sign in using like your Gmail, and then just click make a new terminal or make a new virtual machine, I think it is. So anyway, here you have like a desktop, just a normal desktop. You see there's like a directory, tiny little directory, and then you get a terminal, which here is kind of like the shell we're going to talk about in a minute. And up the top you get different things. We're going to use terminal today. So if you're going to use on the desktop, say this home, if you wanted to make a new folder, you could click on that, go into code, then here right click, create folder, right, and then blah blah blah. You could do all of this in a single line in terminal. That's the power of it. And so what it does, it acts as an intermediary between you, the user, and the operating system. It allows you to type commands in to do things that you would otherwise do using the GUI, the graphical user interface, within a mouse and a keyboard. Instead, you can just do it all with a keyboard. You'll be privy to this type of look, let me see, blah blah blah, from stuff like Mr. Robot. It's like what hackers use. But normal people use this in the real world to get things done a lot faster. So why is it called bash in Linux? I suppose before we even say that, what is Linux? Well, Linux is an operating system, and that's why we're using this on here, because you get three main operating systems. You'll probably know two of them, and the third one probably won't. Windows, Mac OS, and then Linux. Linux, I didn't even know existed until I went to uni, and every computer was dual booted with Windows and Linux. Because Linux is a free open source operating system. Open source meaning it's developed by a community as opposed to by an enterprise, say. So you don't need a license or anything. And because of that, it's super flexible, super powerful. And bash is the default shell on most Linux distributions. So if you have a Linux server, for example, it will probably have bash on it. And then that will be the way that you, say as a cloud engineer or as a developer, will interact with the operating system to troubleshoot issues, to do things faster. And so here you can see it's powerful, flexible, widely used for scripting and automating tasks. Now, scripting is essentially where you automate a bunch of tasks or a complex task by having a bunch of commands, so things that you're typing into this terminal here, chain them together, or at least just have them on top of one another so they work sequentially through them, and it's just a bunch of commands that you can run as a single file. In Linux, everything is treated as a file. That's including hardware and processes. So if your app's running, that's seen as a file, the process of that app running. If you have your printer plugged in, that's seen as a file, that driver, that printer. So this design allows you to use the same commands to interact with various system components without having to worry about their nature. So for example here, if you want to interact with a driver for your printer, or a process, or an actual file like a text file, you can use the same commands to interact with them. In important directories, a directory being a folder, the most important one is /etc. And this contains your system configuration files. So whatever you do, don't delete it, don't modify it, just leave it, okay? Unless I tell you to. Chapter 3, basic command syntax. So we know that a shell is the thing that you're using, or the thing which underpins this terminal here. So the terminal is where you're typing the stuff. The shell, so there's a terminal, the shell which processes this and interacts with the operating system. So it's like a 4-layer approach. You with your keyboard. Terminal, shell, operating system. That's the flow of processing. So you do it. And then Linux file system, everything's a file. So all these commands work for everything in Linux. And the general syntax of these commands that you're going to use to interact with the operating system is 3 parts: commands, options, and arguments. So the command is the thing you want to do, so the command you want to execute. The option is something which would change the behavior of the command. For example, a command could be list. So list would list everything in a directory. A directory, as we've just said, being a folder. So when you write ls, which is list, it would show everything in there. If you add the option to show even hidden files, because you can hide files, then that's an option to show that. But then say you wanted to see the hidden files of a child directory. So you have, say, your directory A, and in here you have a file, and then another directory B. If you wanted to see the hidden files in there, you could pass that directory in as an argument. Don't worry, we'll get to it later on, but that's essentially what it means. An argument is the input or a target for the command to run. If you want help on commands, or we want to have a look at documentation, which is always good, the manual pages can be found by the command man followed by the command that you want to know about, or if you just want a quick summary of the command usage, command -- help. So the example is manual for list or list -- help. So if we go over here, for example, we might not get manual because it's quite a big directory. It's a lot of files in there because it's a manual for every single command. It may not have that in the browser, but let's check and see. Oh no, it does. And so essentially here you can see the name, synopsis, description, and if you scroll, it will give you all of the different options and argument types. So you see then the bottom it says press H for help or Q to quit. We want to quit, so press Q. Then if we just wanted some general help, we didn't want to see the whole thing, we can do -- help. Oh, So that's what you would use anyway on a Linux system. So let's look at the essential commands then, based on this. So I talked about ls, which is listen files. So if we kind of clear here, if you write clear, it will clear the screen. Enter so we can see what we're doing. Now if I was to ls, that's list. That lists everything in here. And in this project, there must be nothing. But let's see if there are hidden files. So if I do ls-a, that's to see all files, including hidden. You can see that there are 2 files, dot and dot dot. The file dot refers to the current directory that you're in, and dot dot refers to your previous directory. You can imagine it like a linked list, that the files are, each directory file is linked together so that it knows how to move back and forth. So if I was to do ls-, that would be listing this current directory. If I was to do ls-, it would be the directory above. So now we would expect to see project. As you can see there, you can see projects in it, because now we're looking at the directory 1 level up. So if we go to desktop, I can show you what I mean by that. So you can see here that if we open up this home, you see there's code desktop golang project. If we go to terminal, you can see code desktop golang project. If we open project, nothing's here. So when I do like a list dot here, I'll see nothing because there's nothing here. But if I do a list of dot dot, it refers to this upper level. So you can think of it here. Your ls dot is here. From this point, ls dot dot is dot and then dot. So it's this labx. You can also list this long formatting. So if we do that long and we do for the directory up, you can see that now they're in this order in which you can actually see them properly. And you can see the specifics about them. We won't go into details here because it's not particularly relevant just for learning these commands, but as you can see, you get a variety of information this way because you're listing them down the way. I suppose they're just names. So you can get like when it was created, for example, and then the permissions or what file it is, etc. And so you can also combine options here. So if we do list, and then we want to do this long list, so long format list, and all files, LA, as you can see, we'll then have, for this current project, just dot and dot dot, but for it to pass in the argument of dot dot, which is the directory 1UP, you can then see there's all of these hidden files, which is pretty cool. And it doesn't really matter which way, so it can be AL or it can be LA. Doesn't matter because they're all just options. So it just reads the options in, doesn't care about the order. Now that I've seen that, I can see things above me, below me, where I currently am. You would then want to possibly change directories. And this is where CD would come in, change directory. So if we just do a list long, there's nothing here. If we do a list long up a directory, see those things here. So say I wanted to move up to that directory. Well then I could go to, so the home directory would be CD and then this squiggle, tilde I think it's called. Or you could just CD, that would go to the home directory. So that would be like maybe on your home computer, it would be like, for me, I don't know, look, say, something like that. But to go up a directory level, so it's saying here a parent directory, CD dot dot will change directory up. So now, if we ls, you can see, we'll do ls-l so you can properly see it. This is identical to this here. And that's because we were listing 2 levels or 1 level up, and we've just changed directory 1 level up. We also then can change directory down the way. So we could change directory and go back into project. And now we're here again. Or we could move, you can kind of combine them together. So move back up into that level, / and then we could say go into desktop. And now we're in desktop, which you can see from here. Now that we are somewhere, let's list this out, see what's here. Nice, so we have a few files, which is cool. So the next one we can look at is cat. So this is viewing file content. So now that we're in a directory with stuff here, you want to see it without having to go back over to desktop, open up the home and be like, wait, where was I supposed to be again? Is it desktop? I think it might have been. So instead of having to do that, now that we're here, what we can do is we can just do cat to show the file. So say we'll do cat code.desktop, and that there is the file, because as we said, everything in Linux is treated as a file. This here now you can see is the file contents on screen. Now this can be super powerful if you have a text file or a code file and you want to see something to see what is it saying, what's it referring to. Because if you think about it, when you just double click on a text file or a code file like .python or whatever .py, when that opens up, that then opens up so you can see it. This does the exact same thing but all from terminal. You can see it just automatically shows you and then you're just back where you are, so you're just here. You can also view multiple files. So if we list to see where we are again, let's do cat code, and if you press tab on your keyboard it can automatically finish what you're writing. And then we'll do gedit, so GE and then tab, and it'll automatically do it because it knows where we are, that's what it's looking for. And so now that we've opened this up, we can see that actually it has the 2 different files. It has the code.desktop and the gedit.desktop. So let's make that smaller again. Right, so now we can list files in a directory. We can see those files in the directory. We can change directories to see other files. What if we want to make a directory? Well, nice and simple. Make dir or mkdir, make directory. So from here, let's just to practice our stuff again, let's do cd ... and then we'll see where we are, and then we'll go cd project, get rid of that. ls, there's nothing in here. So we're going to make a directory and we'll call it look. And then we ls, and we can now see that look exists here. And say within look we want to create a directory for tutorials. What we can do is we can make directory, we can go look, we can go tutorials. And then if we now ls, we can see there's look. And we could change directory to look, and then we could ls and see tutorials exists in there. But what we could also do is if we change directory and go back up to project. So now that we're back up at project, what we can do here is we can ls, and if we press tab, it will automatically show us look, tutorials, press enter, and there'll be nothing, because there is nothing there. Unless we do ls-a, and we'll do long as well, and we'll do look, / and then tab, press enter, and there you go. So you can see, you can list things all the way down, because this is just the route to get to it. The same way in desktop you have this here, it's just the route to get to it. So if you know this, you can just type it in, and it's the same in terminal. You don't have to just click on folder, click on the next folder, click on the next folder. Just go straight there. And you can always use that tab to see it. And if you have multiple directories, so say we'll do look, instead of look, let's do look at, and then if we ls tab, you see now it's, if I tab again, it's like which one do you want, look at or look. And if you just keep pressing tab, it will just keep switching between them. So it's very powerful, as you can see. So now that we've made a directory, let's think of how we can make nested directories. So say I wanted to just make this tutorials one in look, but I didn't want to have to make directory look, then make directory tutorials. What you can do is you can make directory parents, and then we could do as it shows there, dir1, dir2, dir3, for example. And now suddenly we have that dir1, and what we can do is if we go to dir1, so change the directory to there, list it out, dir2 is there, change directory to that, and then we can list dir3, cd, there you go. So it's creating these directories in that order, so like in that nesting. So if we go back now to desktop, and we'll make this large, whoops, we can see now that in this project we have these folders. If we go to dir, there's dir2 and dir3, nothing in it, but look, you can see there that it's just created all these. Right, we have two more, and then that'll be us done. So removing directories. So now that you've made them, right, I don't actually want these dir, I don't actually want any of them other than look, to be fair. So what we can do is, let's just go cd tilde, so go back to home, then ls from here, we'll go cd project, we'll see everything right. So what we can do here now is we can remove a directory. So looker has nothing in it, it's empty. So we can remove directory looker, and the look is gone. Now, as you can see from this over here, remove directory, that's only if it's empty. If it contains anything, you have to do this -r, which stands for recursive. So it means just keep deleting whatever's in here until there's nothing left. So recursively move through the directories until everything's gone. So if we do remove directory -r, and then we go to looker, or look, it will remove don't know why it's not working. Oh, rm, that's why. rm-r, that'll recursively remove the files until it doesn't exist anymore. So now if we list, not there anymore. Now the next one, which is the one you should remember, is this -i. Well, rm-i, what this does is it will prompt you before it deletes it. And so what we'll do is we go back up a level to desktop, cd to desktop, list it out. So we don't want to remove code.desktop, that's our VS Code, that's our coding platform. Well, if we were to rm-i, it would say, are you sure you want to do it? And just get used to adding this -I option in all the time, because then you can be like, oh wait, I pressed tab when I didn't mean to press tab. I've accidentally deleted this. Oh no, you don't have to go through that. So you can just do no, and then it will leave it. So we can see it's still there. And the reason that's powerful is because if I done rm-I and then just press tab, automatically after 2 tabs, code desktop comes up. So I could easily accidentally delete it. I'll show you a bonus one here actually. I'll add it into the guide after. But if we go touch is a way to make a file. So we could do touch a.txt. And if we do ls now, you see that a.txt. If we go to desktop, you see we now have that text file there. Back here, what we can do is rm-I a.txt. And then you can just, yes. You can see that's it gone. So it's a YN type of prompt. So finally, we have copying files. So we know how to move around and do stuff. We can delete things. But what if we want to copy something from someplace to another? So what we can do is, we're in the desktop, let's touch a.txt, so we'll just make a text file. Now, this text file, we can copy the contents to another file. So we can cp a.txt and we'll just call it b.txt. Now if we ls, we can see that both of these files exist because it's just copied the contents, so it's duplicated the file and renamed it essentially. Now what we can do is, if we go back, cd, we'll go to projects again. Here we have the directories. So what we could do is, we can make a directory here, we'll call it directory A, say, right? And what we can do is we can copy whatever's in directory 1 to directory 2. And again, it's that -R, which is recursive option. And that recursive option we'll do from dir1 to dir-A. And now if we ls this dir-A, you can see that inside it has that dir1. And if we ls dir-A / and we tab it, we can see that it just keeps moving because that entire contents of dir1 and the child folder dir2 and child folder dir3 have all been copied over. So the final one we have is a cp-I, which is an interactive copy. So if we have, let's see what we've got here. If we copy this a.txt to abc.txt, it will just automatically overwrite whatever's in it. However, we may not want to do that. We might want to do this -I, where it says, are you sure you want to overwrite it? So again, this is another time in which you want to remember this -I flag. Always use it just in case. Because here we can say no, and then that's it. Also, if you wondered what I've done there, I just pressed up. And that gets you your commands here. There are a few other commands that we could look at, such as like history, where it shows you the stuff that you've typed so far, which is pretty cool. And then another one is move, so mv meaning move. So you could do mv, let's see if it tells me. Can I see? You can see here, so it's like move, source destination, source directory, blah blah blah. So there's a bunch that you can use, but that's just the basics of creating, deleting files, directories. Directories are essentially files. Everything's a file in Linux. And so that concludes our essential commands for this part of the video. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any comments or questions, please do let me know below. And until next time, I will see you later. Subscribe for the second part coming out, where we'll go through some more advanced stuff like this here. We'll talk about pipes, processes, etc. So anyway, until next time, take care, and I'll see you later.